Today's lesson is kind of built around something that I read this week. This is from a book called An Everyone Culture by Robert Keegan and Lisa Laskow-Lahey. And I just happened to open it. One of the cool things about working at churches is there's evidence of who's been there before you. So there are cool books from Cynthia here and there, or someone's donated a book, or they'll drop off a book because they feel like it would be great if you read it. And there's treasures everywhere. And this book is one of those treasures that was kind of waiting for me on the microwave one day. So I took it home, and looking for inspiration, I just opened it up, and this is what I saw. In an ordinary organization, most people are doing a second job no one's paying them for. That job is covering up their weaknesses, managing other people's impressions of them, showing themselves to their best advantage, playing politics, hiding their inadequacies, hiding their uncertainties, hiding their limitations, hiding. This prevents organizations and the people who work in them from reaching full potential. That really struck me, because something we are always growing out of is that idea of a dual reality or dual purpose. We are always working to be authentic, even if we don't notice it. We are striving to find people in our lives that validate us and love us for us. We have a lot of time the last few months to internalize a lot. We're alone more. We've had an opportunity to see if we like ourselves or not, to see if we indeed are playing two roles or two jobs. And job, however you're showing up in this world, as a mom, as a friend, as a husband, as an employee, a son. And are you playing another role? Are you hiding at all? Maybe the answer is yes for all of us sometimes. Well, last week, I channeled the sermon or the talk. And this week, I won't be doing that again. But Spirit wants me to go back to that here and there, because that quote really reminded me of where we are moving. What are we waking up to? And last week's talk was about the steps of awakening, different than how they've been any other time, but this awakening for you in this time. This awakening process is Spirit guided, because you are Spirit, and we have Spirit guides, including the Holy Spirit, with us all the time. Here are those steps that they relayed to us last week. The first step is softening and breaking away the old. What no longer serves us crumbles and breaks away. Maybe that is the second job they're referring to. You show up as you, but there's also another part of you that is hiding or correcting. Maybe it's time for that to fall apart, because there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to correct. You are complete. In all your duality, you are beautifully complete. The second step is euphoria. Your heart center opens, your intuition grows, you feel joy. The next stage is the shadow, where we pull all those things up that we compartmentalized in the dark because they're hard for us to see, or we didn't feel ready yet, or they're trauma-based. And all of those parts of us that we need to be whole are brought gently to the surface so that we can see them and deal with them and say, I love all of me. The next stage is rest. And as we rest, all of the work that we've been doing, all of the intuition we receive moves from here, busy thought, and infuses into our DNA. into the rest of us as physical beings and spiritual beings. And then the final step of the process is growing roots, both down into the universe, rooted here as a human, and also roots upward to the ether, to spirit, remembering that we are rooted, we are grounded when we recognize both our humanity and our divinity. So why now? Why is this process being given to us now? It's been revealed before. We're always talking about awakening, enlightenment, right? Hasn't that become one of our buzzwords? And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that it's out in front of us. But are you feeling it's a little bit different? Well, this process perhaps is being shared because we are always creating, whether we know it or not. We're always manifesting. Our manifesting comes from action and inaction. It is a force that's ongoing. Manifesting is within our control if we choose to be awake to our thoughts and our actions, when we choose to be active participants of this universe, not victims of circumstance. So, what are we creating? What are you creating? And here's another question: is what we are creating, collectively or individually, on track with who we came here to be? That's a big question. Why are we here? Who did we come here to be? What is this all about? The terms soul purpose and life purpose also are buzzwords that are thrown around a lot. And I'm certain that we have a life purpose. I'm certain that you decided to come here. You made some incarnation choices, some pre-life choices, to learn some things, to live into love, both giving and receiving, perhaps to clear some things up, to heal some things in relationships you had in prior lifetimes. You are here as your life purpose to grow as spirit. But then there is purpose. We can call that soul purpose. We can call that spirit purpose. But why is your essence here? As we create, we discard. We shed what is no longer needed, or we shed what's been healed. The things that keep coming up are the things we need. So you might pay attention to those things that keep coming up over and over and over. They're not there to beat you down. They're not there to punish you. They're there as an invitation. Look at me. Work on this. You're ready. Have you thought about that? That when something hard keeps coming up and poking at you, it's because you are ready? Well, recently we've had some amazing opportunities to shed some things away. And when we shed some things away, we make room. Spirit often likes to show me a packed closet. There's various things in that closet. There's clothes that still have the tags on them. There are weathered sweaters, the favorite sweaters with the pockets where you leave all your favorite chapsticks and you hide your money. Then there are black bags of stuff that's just hanging around there. If we kept that closet so full all the time, our creation couldn't be noticed. We'd still be creating. We are co-creators. We are made of creator. We'd still be creating, but if that closet is so full, where are you going to put the new stuff? You'd have to shove it in little nooks and crannies, and it wouldn't be as obvious as clearing a shelf and hanging it right where you can see it. So, like I said, we've had some amazing opportunities to shed some things away and make room. We just moved out of Advent season. And Advent is a time where we are making room, we're kind of nesting for the Christ child to be born. As we study that story, as we let that story live in our own lives, however it's supposed to live in our lives, We know that we are making room for our own rebirth. Every year at Advent, we get a chance to wait, clean house a little bit, and prepare for rebirth. It's not Jesus's birth. That happened. It's ours. Every year we are reminded that we are able to reset, be reborn. We have those Renaissance moments, second, third, fourth, infinite chances to grow and to create. 2020 gave us so many opportunities to pause and reflect. The whole year gave us a chance to pause and reflect. And we have asked ourselves and our culture, what is it that we want to keep? We've had the most blessed gift to look at things that we have just decided this is so, this is the way it is. We've stepped out of the mechanics, the rhythm of our life because we had to, and we have a chance to look at our life and say, is that really working or not? So what no longer works in your life? And what kept coming up in 2020 so that you could heal it, either for you or for our world? We're going to grow no matter what. We are pliable as spirit. We are stretchy. We are creative creatures who constantly make a mold and then break it for something better. As soon as you believe you've made it to your destination, there's something else there. That mold that you created and formed yourself in, cozy like a blanket, starts to reveal the next step. We can be grounded in this. We can be constantly creating and feel grounded at the same time. How? Our faith, our connection to Creator, that is the constant. The love within you that guides you, that still small voice, your essence, that is the constant. And your creation moves like tectonic plates. You create a mold, it is beautiful, and you begin to create the next one. Sometimes it's not clear to us what we no longer need. As we speak of this awakening process, and that first step, softening and breaking away of what we no longer need, sometimes we don't know what that is. I'm reminded of weeds, pulling weeds. When I grew up, one of my punishments was to go out in our yard, and we had this long, beautiful brick sidewalk that my dad put in place. And you know what happens in between bricks? Weeds grow. So when I had misbehaved, it was my job to pull all of those weeds. And it was obvious. I knew that they weren't supposed to be there because they were in the middle of those bricks and it was supposed to look clean and nice. So even if the weed was beautiful, I knew I was supposed to pull it. But as I grew up, and I didn't have that sidewalk in front of me that was so obvious, couldn't always tell what was a weed and what was a flower. What do I pull up and discard to make room for the flower? Or what do I keep? So discernment is an actual spiritual season that happens for all of us. Discernment is a process that allows us to think, to decide, to seek advice before we act. And we're constantly discerning. So how would we use discernment to identify what is the weed and what is the flower? Especially the weeds that flower and grow and flourish, and they're so strong and beautiful. But underneath the soul, they're sucking the life from the vegetation that we need. I found this app one time on my phone called Picture This. And this app allowed you to go around your yard and take a picture of any plant, flower, tree, and it would read it and tell you what its name was. So all of a sudden I had this cool tool in my hand that could help me discern quickly. Is it a weed or is it a flower? Is it edible, inedible? Is that poison ivy? And I remember holding that in my hand and walking around with one of my children and being so excited that we would look at everything and see what the phone told us. What is this called? Is it good or is it bad? What makes good or bad? And in that moment, we just left everything. We weren't there to pull any weeds. We were just there to enjoy creation. But as I reflected on that later on, I remember feeling, wouldn't it be nice to have this app, this app as part of my own construction? And I laughed because, of course, I do. You do. It is our essence of spirit, which can be called our moral compass, our Jiminy Cricket, our conscience, our intuition. Well, discernment, when we allow that time to stop and think and seek advice, that becomes our Picture This app. Discernment allows us the lens to take time and look at something and decide, is it a weed or is it a flower? Am I ready to pull that weed? What do I give that flower so it can grow? The universe will certainly put ideas, people, resources in our path to guide us. And so we're encouraged by Spirit to remain open and flexible to how that information comes to us through ideas, people, resources, podcasts, songs, ideas, half of conversations you hear in an elevator, bumper stickers. Oh my goodness. Resources, ideas, guidance comes from the universe in so many unique ways. And all we have to do is say yes and be open to receiving that. Wisdom shows up in both the universe within, that's us. Our bodies may signal us when it's time to shed something away. We might feel the fatigue. We might have a breakout in our skin. We might have that feeling to nest, to clean, to organize, to clean things out, both in our emotional body and our physical body. Our ego may also be the teacher. Our ego may grow tired past our bones, tired in our core, or bored. Because our ego is making room for our spirit to stretch and grow. We, of course, have many meditations. We can do chakra work, breath work, that allow us to integrate the work of our body and our soul to stretch and be pliable and get rid of and grow and renew. The greater universe gives us resources like you, radio shows, music, bumper stickers, numbers, synchronicities, channeled information through your thoughts, meditations, books. Well, as I wrote this talk and I was hearing about the universe within and the greater universe, you know me, I like to say to Spirit, hey, prove it. Can I have an example, please? So here are a couple examples of how the greater universe, Spirit, gives us guidance. I happen to have this beautiful deck of cards, and it's based on the Course in Miracles. And sometimes when I need a boost or I'd like some guidance for the day, I just run the cards through my hands until I find a picture that brings me joy. So here's a couple for us today. This is the universe, the greater universe, giving us guidance. And I pulled these randomly and yet not. I give my life to God to guide every day. I give my life to God to guide every day. How does that sit with you? It's not taking away your freedom. It's not taking away your choice. This is telling us that you are a co-creator. And maybe as you shed away and you awaken, you can begin to give those things back to God that aren't really helping you. Or maybe they're not your job. One of the parts of that process, the euphoria the growing roots and discovering our purpose, there are some action items in there. And one of them is asking the universe, how do I remain active? What do I do to grow this life I want to grow? When we ask that question and we're willing to receive the answer, we are giving our lives to God to guide, because we're not in the way anymore. We become partners, co-creators. I'm going to skip that one. I place the future in the hands of God. I place the future in the hands of God. Again, older theology, Old Testament theology, maybe how you were grown up, raised. Maybe you were taught to let go and let God. There's some truth to that. But when you're asked to place the future in the hands of God, you're not giving your will to a puppet master. You are saying, you know what's best for me. That knowledge, that wisdom is within me. I am co-creator with God. So I surrender having to manage all of it. And I step through with faith. That's where our faith comes in. And here's the one I skipped, because I know it's going to bug you if I don't read it. It can be, but myself I crucify. It can be, but myself I crucify. We are our harshest critic. And when we are co-creator, when we are awakening, we're often very hard on ourselves. But that shedding away, that growing does feel itchy, it's uncomfortable. When we are working in the shadow part of that awakening, stuff's coming up, we're feeling it, we're seeing it. And we might have a default. We might be tempted to say, oh, I did that. I'm such an idiot. Or how could I have ever thought that? I'm so dumb. We have to be careful not to crucify ourselves, because nobody else is. You are supported by a creator that loves you and is wise, and yes, is within you and outside of you, always guiding you and loving you. There is no crucifixion unless it comes from you. We also have the book that we're studying, Who Have You Come Here to Be? 101 Possibilities for Contemplation. I'm going to save that for a minute, but there's some good stuff in here. So we understand the process, or we're getting there. We understand that the universe gives us teachable moments, resources, our inner universe and our greater universe. But what is the process? How do we do that? It's great to hear that this is happening, but we don't need more poetry. We don't need more word salad. We need a process, don't we? So what is the process, God? How do we grow? When we shed away and we awaken, how do we do it? As I meditated on that prayer this week, this is what I was given. Instead of waiting to fall in love with your lives at some point, after you fix this or after you learn that, you are invited to go ahead and love it now. Even if you're going through the motions, even if you fake it until you feel it. Instead of waiting to fall in love with your lives at some point, after you fix this or after you learn that, you're invited to go ahead and love it now, even if you're faking it till you feel it. When we let our bodies and our ego dance through the motions with the right intention, the energy of that action creates truth. That is you manifesting. When you allow yourself to dance through the process and say, all right, I'll show up. I'm going to do it. My intention is, this is for my highest good. I want to grow. I'm waking up. You are manifesting for your highest good. You are creator in that moment. When you open yourself up to the deliciousness of life, you engage it fully and passionately. Now is the time to allow all your restrictions and reservations to fall away as you shine your brilliant light with the boldness of a bonfire in the dark of night. This book walks us through a process. The process is looking at our shadow, those things that come up that we don't want or need, we deny their power. And when we've cleaned out that closet, we have things that we can try on, attributes, parts of us that we may recognize, parts that are inspired, and we can try them on. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. This book is divided into the elements, and the first element is fire. And I think that that is a perfect way to start. The archetypal energy of fire is an appropriate place to start. Just as sparks are present at the outset of creation, fire provides us with the power and energy we need to sustain us through this transformative journey of the soul. Greek philosophers, from Heraclitus to Plato and Aristotle, considered fire the highest or first element of the four classic elements. Fire is also one of the 5 elements found in Chinese and Japanese philosophy, as well as the 5 elements of the Hindu Vedic tradition, where it is used in ritual and ceremony as a way of connecting with existential energy. Alchemists considered fire as the primary agent of change because it was required for both initiating and completing metaphysical demonstrations. To step into the energy and the warmth of the fire is to be changed at your core. Through its heat, fire purifies and transforms. And that reminds me of our burning bowl ceremony we did just a few weeks ago. We wrote down on pieces of paper some things from our shadow, and we released them. We ignited the fire within us. We're reminded it by watching the fire that it's transformative, it is life-giving, and evidence of the Creator within you. So this book inspires us to try on different attributes like they're ours to keep, because they are. I'm going to give you a few examples of what they call a spiritual wardrobe. So you can try them on and see if they work for you. And if these work, keep them. They are yours. They're yours for as long as you want them and as long as you need them. As you hear me read the list, I invite you to open your ears, open up those neurons, open your heart. Choose 1 or 2 that you will adopt this week. If you're in the book discussion group, you've probably already done this. So use the time to feel your attributes that you've tried on this week. So the first attribute is courageous. I have come here to be courageous. Insecurity and doubt are powerless to stop me. I am courageous. I break through obstacles by accessing the power of God living, moving, and acting through me. I have come here to be abundant. Feelings of lack have no power over me. I am the one with the flow of life. I give and I receive freely. My life is a shining example of abundance. Beautiful. I have come here to be beautiful. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. Albert Einstein. Nothing and no one can deny my beauty, for I am beautiful. When I see the beauty in me, I can see the beauty in others and in all of life. We'll do a couple more. Hear their wording there. They used I am. I am statements are so powerful. We are created by the great I am. We are the great I am, master with the master. And as you try on these attributes, you might use the words, I am courageous. I am beautiful. I am fun-loving, whatever you are trying on. And remember, you were advised to sometimes fake it until you feel it. Go ahead, you're invited to go through those motions. Try it on. How many times have you been in a store and you've tried something on to see if it fit, to see if you liked it? If you didn't, you put it back. No worries. If it fit, you took it home and you enjoyed it. I am silly. Stress be gone, I'm a silly willy. I wiggle my fingers, my toes, and allow the silly to flow. I'm blessed and I delight in showing it and sharing it with humor and fun. I am exciting. I release all that blocks my excitement. I am excited and exciting. Ideas flow, energy is plentiful, creativity abounds. I am radiant. I do not struggle against what is. I am a radiant being filled with divine potential. I radiate in real time. My presence is uplifting. I shine. I am luscious. I have come here to be luscious. Any blocks to a luscious life are gone now. I live deeply, gratefully, lusciously. I am passionate, juicy, breathtaking, and bold. Oh yeah. And this picture, it has an orange on it. Have you ever thought of yourself as luscious? My goodness, you are. I have come here. I am magnificent. Would you try that on for a moment? I am magnificent. I release any tendency to hide who I truly am. I let the magnificence of my inner light shine forth and bless the world. When we started, we read an excerpt from a book that said people have two jobs. What they think they're here to do, their authentic self, and the hiding of that. But you have come here to be magnificent. And if you adopt that attribute as yours, I am magnificent. There isn't any room for two jobs. There's just one. It's you being authentic. It's you being an outward showing or a manifestation of your Creator. You are magnificent. So now is the time to allow all your restrictions and reservations to fall away as you shine your brilliant light with the boldness of a bonfire in the dark of night. With the boldness of a bonfire in the dark of night, it is time to allow all your restrictions and reservations to fall away and reveal your brilliant, bright Creator light. And so it is. Amen.